Thank you very much for this invitation. We are honored to be here today and to have this chance to present our work. C+S Architects is an office interested in innovative design and interdisciplinary collaborations which focus on a very contextual approach. It is the context itself which informs our buildings. I'm stealing this fantastic quotation from Alison Smithson, and to say that our projects, we like to define them as translations of the context itself. We like to define our work translation architecture, but as architects, our translations needs to be physical things. So we invented this idea where our buildings like to be kind of adapters in the context, and we played with these two syllabi, add and apt, because we like to add in the context an element which is an intercultural contact. It's soft, but permits a dialogue. It allows connections and creates understanding, but preserving the identity of the systems. And at the same time, ad is advertisement, so it's added to something which is existent, but it has also to do with communication and manipulation. So briefly presenting this idea of the adapters allows us to work with this small concept in a very different scales. So in the years, we worked with, this is the entrance of the Biennale, Art Biennale, 50th Art Biennale, which was a tube where people entered, and we spread this tube, interfering with the piazzas, the Italian piazzas of 15 squares. Piazza San Marco was one of them. An adapter of at the landscape scale. It's a water filtration plant, so a very technological again element which is turned into landscape design. A more urban adapter, an element which houses infrastructures but allows a big part of the city to be reused again. That's in Venice, the Law Court offices in Venice. And an interior space adapter, an element which allows this pavilion to regain the beauty of its emptiness in Venice again. And then a topic which is particularly interesting for us is what we call the community adapters. It's our work, it's a 10-year research and work on school buildings, which the Kite is one of these elements. They are mainly built in the sprawl city, the Italian sprawl, where if you look conventionally at school buildings, they are just a bunch of functions where people have, to study and go away, but instead we believe in the political role of these small buildings addressing the urban sprawl. They play the same scale of the sprawl. They are color dots in a gray environment. They are inexpensive and affordable, and they are allowed to the community to build in. They can be used after the school hours, and so becoming hybrid and flexible spaces. And doing these school buildings, we engaged with the communities themselves, telling them stories. You have Alex and the White Rabbit, which we stole from Lewis Carroll, and we engaged the kids around the school which was to be built, telling them a story of a building which will be their building. We designed theater scenography and wrote a theater play ourselves to work with the kids for the construction of these schools. Also trying to surgically insert some interesting and fundamental seeds into the community themselves. How do you explain to a kid the technological solution of preheating air? And these are some examples of these school buildings in the Veneto region, nursery, primary schools. One of these, the projects I've shown now were all mainly public projects. At one point, this private client, looking at these projects which were spread by marketing and communication, came to us and said, listen, we have this new pedagogical way of teaching from to kids from 1 year old to 14, allowing them to reinforce their special things, their special qualities, and address their problems like that. And also we want to address the question that during summer, Italian schools are closed for 3 months, and people with very low even income do not know what to do with the kids. So please, we are now using some existing structures which don't allow us to be in touch with the landscape outside. Please help us. So again, stealing Alex and the White Rabbit, we found very interesting to design and to think of a big roof, a kite, to propose them. There's a small video which shows, hopefully, the idea very well. So our client had a very, very small budget. And he wanted a summer school, a roof, a big roof, which was substantially the project, making shadow for the kids to be protected without any insulation, just a thick concrete wall, 50 centimeters thick, which would allow to add this community graft adapter, how do you want to call it, and open up to a big park and facilities like a swimming pool. So we arrive from the city of the sprawl, and when we enter it, we enter a shadow substantially. It's a very archetypical way of founding something, you put a big roof at the beginning. This wall opens up and allows to enter the school in security because the kids have to be controlled at some point when they enter it. These are some very simple details which though explain very well how we managed to achieve that very simple and drawing which is understandable from everyone. This is the title of the school, which was carved inside the concrete itself and then painted, and which corresponds to the different ages groups. Other details which define some simple grafts in the wall, which allow transversal ventilation when the sun is on the other side of the school itself. There are big doors which are opened, And this is a square which always changes its quality of the space because of that hole in the roof, which allows the light to design the space itself. And around which, because it's circulating between a very strong concrete-made floor and the grass, the kids would play with different, very simple materials. The changing of a floor makes noise, allows them to work and play with their own sensitivity. Spaces are very simple. We don't think that very complex spaces are more challenging than a big room which allows you to reinvent it anytime. And they are open up towards the park so that the park can enter in with the changing of the seasons or other things. I'm saying this because this is no more a summer school, but it's used also during the winter for art exhibitions or something which doesn't need a lot of heating, right? So it's used by the adults during the winter. Again, this is a space for the youngest, and this is the space for the elder kids. Some drawings, the inside space, those doors are opening up. The blackboard is not a blackboard, but it's a part of the wall itself. The only thing which we cared a lot was the acoustic insulation, because the space was quite big, and so it had to be manageable in the sense of a pedagogical aim. That blue part of the wall is all a Lego wall where the kids can just not have a small piece of it, but they can work on a big surface. So also that is kind of, challenging from the kids from when they are very young, with some possibilities of the space. And I think that's another way of, planting seeds for the future itself through architecture. The path, that's the Lego wall. The path allows us to get towards the swimming pool, where these very simple volumes on the roof, they have the photovoltaic system, which allows to preheat the swimming pool, so the youngest kids can swim starting from May or very early, which is always a problem. And during winter, this system allows a small heating also of the inside spaces. On the right, there are the pavilions where they can have a shower or change their dresses. This project has been quite successful. They have doubled the number of the children that were with which they were working. And now they have decided to turn this node, this community node, into a network of private service buildings for the territory. So I would like to end stealing the words from another architect which we admire and which inspires us, adding that red letters. Lina says that our work is always a collective works, and I think we need to add also users and clients, because the community needs to be engaged in each sign we live in our territories, making places. Thank you very much.